Baseball isn't just numbers, numbers, numbers.
This game is not being played on computers.
You don't do that with a bunch of statistical gimmicks.
You don't put a team together with a computer.
We're talking weighted runs created plus,
expected WOBA,
his sweet spot rate,
defensive runs above average,
average exit velocity,
barrel rate,
xFIP,
BABIP,
SIERA.
We are above replacement radio. And welcome to Above Replacement Radio, where we're talking baseball kind of whenever. I'm your host, Chris Giant. Over there on the other side of the screen is Daniel Kern. How you doing, Daniel?
Chris, I'm doing very well today, as always. We've officially reached the 1 month mark into this MLB season. I finally made my way out to a game yesterday. I saw 17-0 Red Sox win, which was very sick, very good for me to enjoy in person. I saw 3 different position players on the mound. I saw 2 different players go get a triple shy of the cycle. I believe I saw 3 players with 3 hit games, 2 players with 4 hit games, something like that. But yeah, we are at the 1 month mark of the season officially. Today marks 1 month since opening day. We got some things to talk about today, some league-wide news, some trends, and some exciting players to highlight today.
Yes, indeed. And yeah, typically, we kind of, at this point in the season, sort of highlight some teams that are standing out or performing up, much above or much below expectations. And although this team recently lost a series, it was a competitive series to a very good team. So we still got to talk about them because they are 10 games above 500 and leading the AL Central. And that is the Cleveland Guardians, who, neither of us really expected much out of this year. We kind of expected them to probably hover around 500, which they still very well could do, but they're doing very well right now. What have you been thinking about what the Guardians have been able to do thus far this season?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to give specific numbers, but my Google Chrome is frozen right now, so I actually don't have anything pulled up in front of me. But I mean, without looking, they've taken care of business, whether Shane Bieber has been there in the rotation or not. And it's not just Bieber that's been out, right? Like they've had Logan Allen get hurt. They've had Gavin Williams get hurt. I think the only guys left from their like expected 5-man rotation are Tristan McKenzie and Tanner Bybee, both of which have actually gotten off to slow starts. So they've been getting a lot of unexpected contributions from guys like Ben Lively, who've been pitching well, Carlos Carrasco, who's been doing all right. Xavier Curry has looked all right for them. They're getting enough from them. Excellent bullpen, and then some offensive breakouts from guys like Stephen Kwan again, Josh Naylor, not taking his game to another level. Also not playing Miles Straw. That probably helps a little bit as well. But yeah, no, they are doing very well. And you have some more specific stuff.
Yeah. And you mentioned that pitching staff, and that's kind of what's been carrying them thus far. Although their hitting has actually been pretty good as well. But pitching wise, overall, they are 6th in team ERA and 4th in FIP. And then when it comes to the bullpen, they are 2nd in ERA and 1st in FIP. Emmanuel Clase seems to be kind of back to his pre-2023 self. Not that he was necessarily not that he was necessarily a poor performer last year, but he seemed to regress in a lot of categories. But so far this year, he's thrown 14 1/3 innings, obviously keeping that workload up, and also has a .63 ERA and 1.28 FIP, riding from, no home runs allowed, as well as over 10 strikeouts per 9 and less than 2 walks per 9. Also, you have Nick Sandlin providing some quality innings, 13 1/3 innings pitched, 2.70 ERA, 2.86 FIP. Also, Cade Smith has a 1.70 FIP in 13 innings so far this season, while Hunter Gaddis, in his 14 1/3 innings pitched, has a 2.51 ERA and also a sub-2 FIP at 1.97. Actually has the same strikeouts per 9 and walks per 9 as Emmanuel Clase, funnily enough. So that bullpen, that's kind of what has historically led to their success, at least as of late, but especially back in like 2022, I feel like they had a pretty excellent bullpen, and that's kind of what is driving their success right now, as well as kind of their starters kind of helping, at least tread water at the very least to set them up.
Yeah, going back to Clase, the fact that he's striking guys out, I think is so huge because since 2021 when he really first broke out as a dominant reliever for Cleveland, like there have been a lot of constants. He's always been good at keeping the ball in the yard. Last year was a career high in home runs per nine at him at .5, so still keeping it in the yard at an excellent rate. He's always had a solid ground ball rate, which is actually a bit down this year. And he's always been good at keeping guys off the bases in terms of base on balls. But the strikeouts went away last year. Only 7.93 for him in 72 and 2/3 innings pitched. And for a guy that throws 100 so consistently, and not just with four seamers, but largely with cutters, it was kind of surprising to see the strikeouts at that low of a rate. But it looks like they're back for him right now. And that was really the one thing keeping him from being a truly elite reliever last year. I actually left him off of my top 10 reliever list at the beginning of this year because I was very concerned about that decline in strikeouts because it felt like everything else could eventually go if he's not going to get the strikeouts back. But they are back right now, so I'm very happy to see that. And yeah, I hope that can continue because if he's missing bats in the ninth inning, there's nothing stopping him from being like at minimum a top 5.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And yeah, that whiff rate has gone from 27.4% last year to 33.6% this year, 6.2% increase. And that chase rate has gone up very highly. It's gone from 31% to 41%. So, he's getting, maybe being a little bit more deceptive, but obviously it's a smaller sample size right now. And then I mentioned also they're scoring runs pretty effectively as well. The Guardians are. They are 10th in MLB in team weighted runs created plus, and they are 8th in runs scored. Obviously, Cleveland for the last few couple of years, although it hasn't necessarily shown statistically this year, but they've been very good on the bases, so they're usually able to score more runs than their OPS or their team OPS or weighted runs created plus would correlate. So because yeah, I recall in that 2022 season, they had a fairly average, OPS, but they were able to score more runs than most teams because they were getting a lot of stolen bases, taking a lot of extra bases on each other's hits, and winning that way and scoring runs that way. So if they can, if they can tread water or even do better than tread water, with the bats, they're going to be a pretty effective scoring team, which is very nice. And you mentioned Stephen Kwan is kind of leading that charge offensively right now, at least in terms of wins above replacement. He has 124 plate appearances and an 829 OPS. That makes for a 144 weighted runs created plus because, the league OPS is always the lowest around this time of year. So, the weighted runs created plus is usually higher compared to the OPS at this time of year. Also, Josh Naylor, he's cooled off as of late, but his OPS was over 1,000 at one point, but still an 895 OPS right now and a 152 weighted runs created plus. He can really be a game changer for sure. And Jose Ramirez hasn't even really gotten it going quite yet, so it kind of lets you know that there could be more in store for the Guardians offense. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
The one thing that really makes me excited is that they are actually mixing in a couple extra base hits now, which is not something that they have done really in this window with this core. Even in the year 2022, when they won the division, right? Like they had a 129 team ISO, which is slugging percentage minus batting average. That was tied for the second lowest in all of baseball, below the Oakland A's, below the Chicago White Sox in their 81 and 81 season, below the Marlins, below the Royals. So even when they had that division winning season, there was still a very clear they very much branded themselves as a high offense, low or high contact, low power team. But in the reality, it just isn't really sustainable to win that way in 2024. And this year they have a 148 ISO, which is up 19 points from 2022, and they're 13th in baseball. So they're doing that better than more than half the league, which is encouraging for me. I mean, that's always been the one thing on offense that's really held them back. I think not having a true power hitter outside of Ramirez But Josh Naylor has very much established himself as that. He already has 6 home runs this season. Ramirez himself, I know he hasn't gotten going, but he does still have 5 home runs, which is solid. Not to mention, there have been some interesting breakouts. Will Brennan has looked all right for them. Tyler Freeman has looked pretty good for them. David Fry in a few plate appearances has been excellent for them as well. Yeah, Stephen Kwan, obviously, like you mentioned, he's BABIPing quite a bit, 364, but even when he regresses to the mean, it's not that far of a regression.
Yeah, and Quan is, I think, throughout his career going to have an above average BABIP because of how much he
Yep.
hits line drives and stuff. I mean, his line drive rate currently
It's like
is
36%, right?
I think it's down to 32%. So like,
Still,
but like these are
still
the
very
numbers he's
good.
putting up. These are
The
the
league
numbers he's
average is
putting up
like
with
23%.
yeah, and these are the numbers he's putting up with a 32% line drive rate. And like that's possible that, I'm not saying he's gonna do it, but it's possible to sustain that. I mean, I think Arise was at 32% last year. Bichette was at 31%. So I'm sure Quan could kind of be around there for the rest of the
Yeah,
year. It's
and that's
possible.
with elite defense and base running. Like you make the comparison to Luis Ariz, like Stephen Kwan's an elite defender, and also putting up the same line drive rates that Luis Ariz was putting up last year.
Yeah, yeah, for
So that's
sure. I mean,
very, very exciting for this Guardians team.
yeah, I mean that's why he was able to be a rookie of the year finalist in a pretty stacked year in 2022 for
There was like a fair case that he could have won it. Like I wouldn't have given it to him, but like if you look at the numbers, you could hear out a case to give it to him.
I do recall, yeah, I do recall analyzing it and prepping for that, award show and thinking like, yeah, there is actually somewhat of a case for Quan because I think of, he had a lot more plate appearances than the rest of the pack. So that, overall like accumulation, I think it was there. I just think, yeah, I think the arguments sided a little bit more with Rutschman and obviously J Rod, but still like, he probably would have won it. He probably would have won it in a lot of different years. It just he was unlucky that, it fell in the J Rod and Rutschman years. But
Yeah. Going back to some more things that I like, and I kind of suspected this, but they are doing very well, Cleveland, with runners in scoring position. A 15.7% strikeout rate with runners in scoring position. That is the second lowest in Major League Baseball. It's the lowest in the American League. Also a 306 batting average with runners in scoring position. That is the third highest in baseball, highest in the American League. So, they're getting the job done in the big moments. They have a 340 BABIP, which is actually not at the top, but it is the fourth highest, second highest in the American League. So yeah, I mean they're also getting it done in the big moments. That's gonna happen. That's gonna happen when you are a high contact team that is hitting very well. Is you're gonna get the runs to score at the right time.
yes, indeed, indeed. And yeah,
And I think they're also pitching well with runners in scoring position as well, if I recall correctly.
it would make
Yeah, a
sense.
238 BABIP against with runners in scoring position,
Yeah, that does work out for
which
them.
is the second lowest in baseball, and a 48.1% ground ball rate that probably turns into a lot of double plays if there's guys on first as well.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. I'm looking for, I bet Quan would help this, but I wonder what their team line drive rate is.
I could check that.
I'm
I'm sure you're in the process of it now.
yeah. Oh wait, I forgot to put pitch percentage, of course. They're
Yep.
third in overall line drives, I can tell you that.
Yeah, so
So
that's
they got to be
that'll
high,
help.
and they're only behind LA and San Diego who've played more games. Okay, so they're second in line drive rate among all teams. So that'll help. Yeah, that'll help that, the high contact philosophy and also high line drive philosophy. Yeah, they're probably gonna have a higher team BABIP than normal and a higher just yeah, just higher batting averages and maybe not necessarily they're not gonna, slug the slug the heck out of the ball, but they're they're gonna get their base hits for sure.
Yeah, if you're going to go with the contact heavy approach with the at the expense of power, the way to do it is to hit as many line drives as possible. Like they have a 26.4% line drive rate right now. I'm curious to see what it was in 2022. Now that we're here,
Yeah.
I'm sure it wasn't that. Okay, it was 24.7%. Still very good, third highest in the league. Um, And yeah, I mean, it probably will come down eventually. But yeah, I mean, they're doing it the same way they were last year. But also, like I mentioned, adding in some more base hits, they're doing much better with ISO than they were 2 years ago. So that's exciting.
Yes, yes, indeed. So yeah, Guardians are doing very well. Like lead the AL Central. Twins are, they're in I think maybe an 8 game winning streak right now. They're kind of coming back.
I would say the Twins, yeah. Well, I mean, to
They're
be fair, 4 of those were against the White Sox.
Yeah, and 3 against the Angels as
Although,
well.
although the White Sox are hot,
White Sox
they,
they did just beat the reigning 99 win team. They did just
yeah,
sweep them, the
yeah,
reigning 99 win Rays.
with like a big walk-off home run in there too. Like one of those
Yeah,
walk-off home runs where they were losing before the swing.
yeah, insane. Um, but yeah, so I guess the question is American League playoffs very competitive. I think we can agree more competitive than the National League, or at least of what we project right now and what it was last year.
For
But
sure. Yeah, I mean,
we
there are no divisions that you can safely say are locked up in the AL, and you can't technically say that in the NL either, but like, it's very easy to assume the Braves and the Dodgers are going to run away with their divisions eventually. The Dodgers started to do it. They did lose today, but they were up 4.5 on the Padres and Giants coming into today. The Padres did lose, the Giants did win, so they're up 3.5 on the Giants in the division. The Braves won today, the Phillies won today, so they're up 1.5. But yeah, I mean, the AL Central is could go to anyone not named Chicago. The AL West could go to anyone probably not named Oakland or LA at this point. I know LA is better than Houston, but you got to keep them in it some
yeah,
way somehow.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is kind of coming into the season with the American League, when we were thinking about playoff contenders, I think we were all kind of thinking of 8 specific teams, that
Mhm.
being the Yankees, Blue Jays, Rays, Orioles, Twins, Astros, Mariners, and Rangers. I think there's a possibility that the Guardians have joined that class by now, considering the fact that, a month in, they're leading the division by a good amount. How do we kind of consider them in that club of contenders right now?
Cleveland, it's hard to say because the vibe around the AL Central could change so fast. And also,
True.
like, I mean, in the wild card series era, like, I don't think we've ever seen a Central team that was a serious contender. Like, the closest we've gotten was probably the Twins last year that won 1 game against Houston in the division series. Like, I don't think you can. I don't know. I feel like you can't really consider someone in the AL Central like a truly serious contender until they go toe to toe with an East or West division winner in the playoffs. Because even if they're playing less games against their own division, like you are still playing in that division.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, once they make it, it's a different story. But like in terms of making the tournament,
Yeah.
and finding a spot, I think they've definitely increased their odds a good bit as opposed to what we would have expected. I probably would have expected them to be like 15 and 13, 14 and 14 by now, but they're doing a lot better right now.
Let's see what the playoff odds have said
Oh
on
yeah,
Fangraphs.
that's a
Um,
good
I
thing to
don't I
go
don't
to.
view these a lot. Okay, so right now they still give the Twins the highest chance to win the division.
I agree with that for sure.
Yeah. Um, despite being 4.5 games back.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, they give the Twins a 38.9% chance to win the division. White Sox at 29.7%. They give the Twins a 58.6% chance to make the playoff. The Guardians at 49%. How do I check the yeah, seasons to date, or wait, you know what I'm talking about? Like the graph that shows like the progression of the playoff odds throughout the season. Here it is. Playoff odds graph. AL Central. So Cleveland, their playoff is this playoff for okay, yeah, their playoff berth odds started at 29.2%. They're now at 49%. The Twins make the playoff odds went from 66% to 58.6%. So it actually hasn't gone down that much. But I wonder what it would be to win the division.
right.
For Cleveland, it went from 18.6% below before the season to 29.7%. For Minnesota, it went from 55% to 38.9%. So there is a an odd sway going on here. The White Sox have been at 0 the entire time and haven't moved. They started
Yeah,
out at okay, never mind. They started out at 0.4% to win the division. Now they're at 0.0.
0.4 is very generous in
I
my
was gonna
opinion.
say if they were doing the obligatory like we have to technically give them a chance, I would have gone 0.1.
You're telling me
I wonder
four out of 1,000 times they're taking it? No.
I wonder if the Rockies had ever had a chance of winning the NL Central.
Yeah.
No, they didn't. The
There
Rockies
we
have
go.
not moved at any point from 0.0.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah, with all the positive things I'm saying about Cleveland, I do still think, the Twins are going to play 4.5 games better than them at least the rest of the season. I think they just had a weird start and played a really stiff schedule too. So I think the Twins will take it, but I think I'm more excited about the Guardians. Like, there's more potential that they steal like one of those 6 seeds and play a weird role over there. But I still think the Twins are very talented and are probably the best. I would still project them to be maybe the best AL Central team we've seen since like the 2021 White Sox, the this year's Twins, I think.
for sure.
Um,
Something that I'm finding amusing here, on March 26th, the White Sox or the not the White Sox, the Rockies had 0.1% odds to clinch a wild card berth, and then on March 27th they went down to 0.0. So they got to the day before opening day and were like, no, what are we talking about? They're not making it. Not even on the bare minimum chance of 0.1%.
I hope there's one like real Rockies optimist out there who maybe like sees that and is like, that's what it's that's the start of the documentary.
Yeah.
It's
the, the March 27th 0.1 to 0.0 change.
yeah.
It's
They
like that
didn't think we had any shot.
they didn't truly doubt us until then.
Yeah.
Like they always knew there was a chance until the day before opening day.
That's hilarious. But yeah, anything more on the Guardians or the playoff picture for now?
I don't know. I think that's it for them. I mean, it's cool that they're getting out to the start. It sucks that Shane Bieber's not there. It sucks that I don't get to see Gavin Williams, my player to watch, or Logan Allen. But no, the guys have been making it work.
Yeah, yeah, indeed, indeed. Um, so yeah, the next bit of news we'll get into, it's more funny, kind of it's just an interesting it feels like one of those things that can only happen in baseball. I don't think this can really happen in any other sport just because of how umpires are, but this
Definitely
was.
not in like football.
Yeah, no, definitely not. This was on Monday, a random Monday afternoon baseball game. I was paying attention to this because I had a bet going on it. Chris Mizuhara over here, going going for it. But it was on Carlos Rodon not getting strikeouts. Actually won that one, so shout
Yeah,
out.
so it's not quite Chris Mizuhara if you want it.
No, true. That is correct. Mizuhara was not very good at betting, but I was so into it. I was on the bench at the gym and I was between sets and I was watching. It was a very weird way to watch a baseball game, but humble brag. Anyway,
Yeah.
um funniest thing I've seen in baseball in a really long time. The you know, if you haven't seen it, Hunter Wendelstedt, the home plate umpire, he's talking with Aaron Boone. Aaron Boone doesn't like a call. He thought that I think Esteury Ruiz swung at a pitch that he was hit on, and it was not called a swing. Aaron Boone's arguing, and Hunter Wendelstedt basically says, "One more word out of you, and you're out of here." And then Aaron Boone shuts up. Hunter Wendelstedt is focused on the pitcher and the game. He hears something from the first base dugout and he says, "Aaron, you're out of here." The problem was Aaron Boone did not say a word. It was a fan behind the dugout. And Hunter Wendelstadt's response to that was, "I don't care who said it. You're out of here." Big thing, big fiasco. What were your thoughts on the whole ordeal?
The best part about this entire thing is it's 2024 and there are cameras everywhere, and the Yes Network picked up like the perfect camera angle, the one that answers any questions, any sort of speculation there might have been, where yes, in fact, the fan yells at the umpire while Aaron Boone is sitting there, not even looking at him, just minding his own business, not saying a word. No one in the dugout said a word. But you could clearly see the fan in the blue shirt who I believe changed his shirt after this incident, uh, screaming at the ump right before he made the toss. Yeah, I mean the people talk about the MLB Players Union and how strong it is and how, Marvin Miller made it into one of the strongest unions in the world. The fact that the umpires union allows for this to happen and for Hunter Wendelstedt to not be held accountable in any serious way is pretty remarkable in my opinion. Because like that's such a clear there are umpires that mess up calls, right? It's a safe call that's called out, a ball that's called a strike, vice versa, a rule that's missed, stuff like that. There's mistakes that happen. This is wrongful ejection that, it's hard to say if the ejection of a manager does play any sort of role in the outcome of a game, but the Yankees did lose this game 2-0, I believe. And yeah, I mean, like there was an easy case for Aaron Boone to make some sort of plea to the league that he was wrongfully ejected to. I don't know what he would want to get out of it. But yeah, Hunter Wendelstedt, he made comments after the game, pretty much I think doubling down on it, saying that like the manager's responsible for what goes on in the dugout, which is fair. The only problem, of course, is that this did not happen in the dugout at all. But yeah, what a fiasco it was.
Yes, yes, indeed. Yeah, and it's a reminder of kind of what the role of umpire sometimes attracts. And I'll preface this by saying, I think, yeah, most umpires are fine. I think the less you hear about an umpire, the better. I mean, we didn't hear about what was it, Scott? Was it Pat Hoberg?
Pat
We didn't
Hoberg.
we didn't hear his name until he got that perfect game, and I'm sure he's been fantastic
I was
since
gonna
then.
say, scorecards is the only reason we know who Pat Hoberg is.
Yeah, yeah. You hear about the bad umpires, and we need to talk about the bad umpires because they're they're objectively terrible, and I think it goes beyond the calling of games. It goes into a human level, and it's not just at MLB. It's like I've seen it at JV high school level where where there's some power hungry people and they can never be wrong, and because they have the power, they can never feel wrong. They'll threaten to throw people out because they're making just comments to people in their dugout, and it doesn't stop at the it doesn't just stop at the MLB level, but at the MLB level, it's even more atrocious, and we see it all the time. Like Angel Hernandez has never really held himself accountable. I mean, shout out to like Jim Joyce apologizing to Andres Galarraga that one time.
Not
that was
not
pretty cool.
not Andres Galarraga.
Or not Andres Galarraga. Uh,
Armando. Armando.
Galarraga, yeah. But
I mean,
shout out to him for
by the
doing
way,
that.
it was not just one time. It's like 100,000 times.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. But yeah, there's like that those post game quotes from Wendell Stat. That's what really shows you kind of what that like power hungry umpire mentality where it's like, well, I heard something from that direction, so someone had to go. I wasn't wrong. I got a game to control here. I know there's 50,000 people here, but I got a game to control. And just because Mike from Smithtown yelled at me, Aaron Boone's got to go. He's responsible for everybody in the stadium. It's just that mentality. It kind of ripples throughout a lot of umpires, especially unfortunately older school umpires as well. So yeah, I think they take sometimes they take or they not necessarily take their role too seriously, but they think their role is more responsible than it is, and that was just shown by Hunter Wendelstadt's actions.
I mean, the best example of this, and I don't know how many people remember this at this point. I know you do. but I believe it was in 2017 when Angel Hernandez proposed umpires wearing white wristbands to raise awareness for like verbal abuse that umpires suffer at the behest of players and coaches and fans everywhere because uh, Angel Hernandez struck out Ian Kinsler on like an objectively terrible pitch. Like, the Angel Hernandez strike zone. This was beyond like what he usually does. Like he struck Ian Kinsler out on a pitch nowhere close, completely out of the strike zone. I'm pretty sure it was low and away. And after the game, Ian Kinsler just simply said like, "Yeah, I think Angel Hernandez should find a new line of work," which I would imagine is probably like the 1000th worst thing that Angel Hernandez has ever heard. I'm sure he's heard way worse from players, coaches, fans, everywhere. Um, and his response was they need to stop bullying us to the point of like wearing a white wristband. Like, there are plenty of causes that, encourage like raising awareness by like wearing something, whether it's like, wearing this color for awareness or for raising this color or like wearing this color for like heart disease, like wearing red for heart disease. That's a thing. But like white wristbands to stop umpire bullying because they're bad at their jobs it was up there.
Yeah, and also Angel Hernandez requesting that is like,
Yeah.
Mark, hey, I'm Martin Maldonado. We need to end criticism of batters with bad OPSs and bad performance at the plate. Like, you should be the last guy speaking on that. If Hoberg's out there trying to swindle this, maybe I get it a little more, but Angel Hernandez is the last person that should be talking about that.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and I could be wrong. So, and I don't want to, like, look, I know that, yeah, okay, this is legit. Angel Hernandez last year was umpiring a lot less games behind home plate, and he tried to argue that it was like racial discrimination because of his like Cuban descent.
I do recall that. Yeah,
Yeah, which is,
I
I
mean,
mean, that's a great one.
I respect the hustle because that is a great way to, make more money,
It's
get
like
more
when
games, make more money, secure the
it's
bag.
like when well, this was a much more messed up scenario because it actually like impacted people, but when Ryan Braun got suspended for PEDs and he like tried to say that it was discrimination because he was Jewish.
Oh, I I didn't I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember that.
That yeah, no, that happened, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, no, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. But yeah, that is, it's a way to go about things.
Right, I'm pretty sure that he did that.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. I think I just wasn't paying attention as much back then, back in 2013.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Milwaukee Brewers star Ryan Braun apparently wants people to believe that the person who collected his urine sample for that positive test is anti-Semitic.
Uh, where is that? What
The Milwaukee Journal Sentinel.
interesting.
That's the first line. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. He suggested that the sample collector was anti-Semitic. And they leaked the name of the person too, and I guess that he got like threats because of it.
yeah, that's something.
Yeah, so
Wow.
that's like much worse than the Angel Hernandez thing
True.
because
Yeah.
that one actually like impacted a innocent person. Um, but yeah, no, the that was a funny moment with Angel Hernandez. Yeah, I also just love when there's an opinion that every baseball fan agrees on, no matter what. Like, we're gonna talk about the uniforms later. That was one, but like Angel Hernandez hatred is just so universal. Like, it brings people together.
Yeah, no,
And
this
also another thing that I just love is like, when I love going on Savant and like, thinking that I see something with the eye test and then looking it up on Savant and it turns out to be true. Like, it feels very, validating. The fact that when umpire scorecards came out, Angel Hernandez turned out to be one of the worst umpires, it was like, yeah, we got it right.
yeah, yeah.
Like,
Mm,
we nailed it.
I'm good at watching this game. This is
Yeah.
I seem to pick up on things pretty well.
Yeah.
Um, But yeah, that was a funny thing to happen. Like one of the funniest ejections of all time. Also, I think something you
100%.
mentioned, like the fact that it happened to Boone is just perfect. Because Boone has been part of the more viral ejections of the past few years, ever since like 2019. Savages in the Box. I think that
Mm.
was quoted a whole bunch of times. More things of that nature as well. He's always, it seems like at least once a month he's out there, yelling at an umpire. But
We
this
need
time,
more. We need more like mic'd up ejection moments.
that
Because
is
it's like
true.
when you think of like great ejection moments in Major League Baseball, there are two that come to mind. There's in that, and our guys are savages in the box.
Yeah, because that whole time, like
It's like
the
I get that
volume.
Major League Baseball probably can't release a lot of them because there's curse words, and they, understandably can't release that. But like, there's got to be more out there that they're hiding, right? That are just so good, like perfect one-liners from guys.
Oh, 100%. But yeah, the whole time I was, watching that live, I was like, I was shocked at how much, the viewer was able to hear. Just through, like, it seemed
Yep.
like the Yankee Stadium was the volume of like right before the final putt of the 18th hole of the Masters. Like everyone has to be quiet. You got people like, waving their quiet signs. It seemed like that volume, and Aaron Boone was able to just, get his voice out to the yes microphones, and yeah, make for a really great moment.
Yeah, I mean, it was what was it, a Monday afternoon at like 1 o'clock, and the game had just started. Like the
Yeah.
only people that were saying anything were the bleacher creatures doing the roll call.
Yeah, and I forget, like, was that like a rain makeup game or something? Was that even
No, it
originally
was just a
scheduled?
random 1 p.m. game on a Monday because it was a 4 game series, and all of them were played at the normal time. I don't really know why it happened, but it did.
I'm trying to think. Like,
I
I
think
know
there just
they
isn't a reason.
I I don't want to I know they'll schedule things different for Jewish holidays, so I don't know if a Jewish holiday was going on, but I don't recall there being
Not to
anything that day.
my knowledge.
Um I'm not in tune with the chosen people, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, kind of random. I guess I've noticed the Tigers did that as well because I think it's just cold in Detroit, so they
The
wanted.
Tigers always do that. They always schedule day games at home in April.
Yeah, which is cool, especially if you work a lot remotely
Yeah.
and just want to catch a day game.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Um, but
Been a
yeah,
been a big weekend for Detroit, by the way. Like NFL draft seemed to pop off for them, and the Tigers are good. They did lose a series to the Royals this weekend, but Detroit's up right now.
no, I think Tigers won that series. They won today and yesterday.
Did they? I thought did they win yesterday? I think they lost
Yeah, they won
yesterday.
6-5.
Oh, okay.
Also, I'm on the lookout for a big
Yeah, they
Royals
absolutely
losing
did.
streak.
They absolutely did. Yeah, you're right. They won the series. Yeah, they won the series against the Royals.
I'm on the lookout for the Royals' downfall soon. They're
Yeah.
on the road. They're on the road against Toronto this upcoming week, and then I think have a couple tough matchups after that as well. I think this is when that optimism starts to drop on Kansas City. However, you know, they could last it out. Who knows? But
They have a
anything
good run
more on the
differential.
umpires?
No, I think that was just our little fun moment there with Aaron Boone.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess we'll keep the tone of that going with our next segment, starting with yeah, players to highlight, but we will start with our uh Sunday. Well, as of recording this, it is Sunday,
Yeah.
April 28, 2024 edition of Slightly Alarming Statistics. He's been barreling up the ball way less.
He's not missing bats. He's not getting the ball on the ground, and people are hitting it in the air more.
It's been so bad. He is getting a
Slightly alarming.
Yeah, so for my slightly alarming today, you kind of got to do a double take when you see this guy's numbers. Like, you look at them and you're like, he can't be that bad, right? But Jose Abreu has been that bad for the Houston Astros. I keep looking at the Astros and being like, man, they still got John Singleton on the roster. Like, I know that it's a cool comeback story and all, but like, what's he doing there still? This is a competitive team. And then you look at Jose Abreu and you're like, oh yeah, Yeah, that's a thing. That makes sense. Um, but yeah, I mean, Jose Abreu has played 22 games, had 77 plate appearances, and is slashing 099, 156, 113 for a 269 OPS, a negative 21 weighted runs created plus, and a negative 1.1 FWAR. Among the 237 hitters that have had at least 70 plate appearances this year, he ranks second worst in batting average and dead last in everything else that I had just mentioned. And if you look at Savant, it's pretty ugly. He ranks first percentile in xWOBA with a 169, expected batting average with a 130, and expected slugging with a 170. He's also yet to barrel up a ball, so he has a 0.0% barrel rate, also first percentile along with several others. The best circle on his Savant page is 31st percentile strikeout rate. And speaking of which, that strikeout rate, it is up to a career high for him at 24.7% heading into today. His walk rate is at a career low at 4.1%, and his ground ball rate is at 50% for the first time in his career in any season. His line drive rate is at 16%, the first time it's ever dipped below 20% in a season. And coming into today, 24% of his batted balls total were fly balls hit below the hard hit threshold. And those are never home runs. They're really never hits. They're mostly outs. As is everything, but they're really mostly outs. That is the seventh highest rate of fly balls below the hard hit threshold among the 208 hitters with at least 50 batted balls. His average exit velocity on fly balls this year is just 87.2 miles per hour, which is really bad. And also, 66.3% of all pitches Jose Abreu have seen have been fastballs, whether it be four seamers, sinkers, or cutters. That is the fourth highest rate among the 248 hitters with at least 250 total pitches seen, and it's a sharp increase from the 57.9% of fastballs he saw last year. So hitters are throwing him a lot more fastball, or pitchers are throwing him a lot more fastballs. He has a 31.4% whiff rate against them. That is the 15th among the 226 hitters with at least 150 fastballs seen. He is hitting and slugging 150 against them, and that 150 slugging ranks third lowest among the 235 hitters with at least 25 batted balls against fastballs. Jose Abreu already had a pretty bad down year last year, coming off of his free agency and signing with a new team, and he has looked somehow even worse this year and has probably been the worst position player in all of baseball.
Yeah, Jose Abreu.
Slightly alarming.
Yeah, with like when I was talking about the Astros and why I thought they were part of why I thought they were going to be a first place team this year was I figured Jose Abreu was going to at least somewhat bounce back, but he's gotten even worse than last year, it seems. And the transition from teams, it's Jordan Zimmerman-esque, if you recall, when Zimmerman was just a completely different pitcher with the Tigers. It seems that way with Abreu with the Astros. Very, very odd, especially considering going from a very underdeveloped analytical team to a very highly developed analytical team. That's weird that he got way worse. I get age is a factor, but still. But my slightly alarming is coming from the mound, a guy who's been pretty consistent, a pretty consistently good pitcher over the past few years. But so far, Joe Musgrove has been struggling pretty massively for the Padres. In 7 starts so far, he has a 6.94 ERA, a 6.55 FIP, and a 7.37 expected ERA. So even with a 6.94 ERA, he is technically getting lucky according to the expected stats. Out of 74 qualifying pitchers this year, his ERA is the highest and his FIP is second highest. Heading into Sunday, out of 110 pitchers with 400 plus pitches thrown, Musgrove had the second highest expected batting average against, third highest expected slugging, and the highest expected WOBA against. Part of this has to do with batters making more contact against him. From last year to this year, his strikeout rate has gone from 24% to 17%, which is, from above average to pretty well below average. His average exit velocity against has gone from 87.5 miles per hour to 89.8 miles per hour, and his barrel rate has gone from 5.1% to 11.6%, which is, over doubled. Heading into Sunday, he had the most barrels allowed in baseball. And because of that, out of 74 qualifying pitchers, he has the second highest home runs per nine allowed, which goes into that ERA and that FIP, and why it's, so lowly ranked. Also, his sweet spot rate against has gone from 32% to 40%. And heading into Sunday, he had the most batted balls in the sweet spot zone allowed. Where hitters are really teeing off is his four-seam fastball. Hitters are hitting 462 and slugging 962 off his four-seamer. And heading into Sunday, among 136 pitchers with more than 100 four-seamers thrown, Musgrove had the third highest batting average and highest slugging against his four-seamers. So nothing really going well for Joe Musgrove right now. Hitters are making more contacts against him, and they're making a lot better contact against him, whether that's hitting the ball harder, hitting more hard fly balls, hitting more homers, or hitting more balls in the sweet spot zone. It's all going in the wrong direction for Joe Musgrove right now, and he is getting a
Slightly alarming.
All right, so that does it for the lows, and now we go from the lows to the highs. Daniel has two of these today, so he's going to do one, going to flip it over to me, then we're going back to him for the finale. But now for our Sunday, April 28, 2024 edition of How About That?
He's striking out less, walking more, and he's also making better contact.
Turning into a strikeout machine just out of nowhere.
He's been excellent all around this year.
And he is getting a...
How about that?
Yeah, so for my how about that, I'm talking about a guy who faced Joe Musgrove's team this weekend. I don't know if Musgrove pitched at all, but
he did. He gave up 4 homers to the Phillies.
Okay, yeah. I don't know if he hit one of them, but I'm talking about Alec Boehm, who has looked real nice for the Philadelphia Phillies. You're nodding as if you have him too.
No, I think he hit a home run off of Musgrove.
Gotcha. Okay. So after play on Sunday, Alec Boehm is slashing 365, 441, 615 for a 1056 OPS with a 191 weighted runs created plus and a 1.8 FWAR. Among the 183 qualifiers, Alec Boehm currently ranks third in batting average, second in OBP, fourth in slugging, third in OPS, fourth in weighted runs created plus, and tied for fourth in FWAR. So on a results level, Alec Boehm has been a top 5 position player in baseball this year, which is pretty cool and not really something that I saw coming, even if it's only a month into the season. His batted ball metrics have actually remained identical to last year in terms of ground ball, fly ball, line drive, pop up, but under the hood, there are a lot of improvements that he's made. He has decreased his chase rate from 30% last year to 23.3% this year. He has decreased his whiff rate from 18.1% to 13.3%, and he has increased his walk rate from 6.9% to 12.4%. He is actually getting better results on what would be considered the most hittable pitches. From 2021 through 2023, Alec Boehm hit 309 and slugged 481 on pitches in down the heart of the plate, according to the StatCast attack zones, as they are called. So the heart of the plate is essentially anything that's in the strike zone that isn't on the edge of it. So like a game day zone 5, and then like the inner half of every other game day zone that's in the strike zone. Again, Alec Boehm was hitting 309 and slugging 481 on pitches in that area over the last 3 years. That's actually on par with the league average for batting average, but the slugging was 73 points below the league average. But in 2024, he is batting 458 and slugging 771 on such pitches. And I love this stat as a meme. I almost never use it in this context, but I'm breaking it out today. One thing that Alec Boehm has done is increase his meatball swing percentage from 75.8% to 90%, the 8th highest increase among qualifiers, but he has also lowered his swing rate from 49.8% to 45.1%. So Alec Boehm is swinging more at the pitches that he should be swinging at, and he's swinging less at the pitches that he shouldn't be swinging at. He's making much better swing decisions. He has so much better control of the strike zone right now at the plate, and this is why you're getting these results from him.
Yeah, Alec Boehm.
How about that?
And yeah, along with the useless facts, I don't think he did not homer off of Musgrove, but he did double, I believe. So
That's fine.
I
Yeah, dude, I
added that
never
to
thought
my
I'd see the day where I'd actually pull meatball swing percentage.
that
How about that? But it's here.
mark the day, April 28,
Yeah.
2024, the day meatball swing percentage was referenced. And how about that?
Yep.
It took us, 306
4
episodes.
years.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, you can't say 306 episodes because it's off season.
true. Yeah, probably like somewhere around 150,
Yeah.
180. Um, took us that many, but we got it in. Um, but yeah, it's good for the Phillies because I feel like there's always been a question looming around Alec Boehm of whether he fits the lineup or not. But so,
Hmm.
you know, uh, him putting it together is a really really fun thing for Philly. I actually am highlighting a different Phillies player. This
Ah.
one on the mound. I actually was wary of his success earlier, but he's been putting together great start after great start, no matter the opponent. I'm talking about Ranger Suarez. In 6 starts so far this year, he has a 1.32 ERA, 2.60 FIP, and 2.01 expected ERA in 41 innings. Heading into Sunday, out of 149 qualifiers, he had the most innings per start in baseball. So, not only preventing runs at a high rate, but also just eating up innings like it's nothing. Out of 74 qualifiers currently, he ranks second in ERA and eighth in FIP. Also heading into Sunday, out of 110 pitchers with 400 plus pitches thrown, he had the sixth lowest expected slugging against and the lowest expected WOBA against, which is probably the most important expected stat. Part of that has to do with him, getting it in the zone more, as well as striking more batters out. From last year to this year, his strikeout rate has gone from 22% to 28%, and his walk rate has gone from 8.9% to 3.5%. This has increased his strikeout minus walk rate from 13.1% to 24.3%, and that strikeout minus walk rate ranks ninth out of 74. What has been kind of the highlight of his success is the quality of contact against him, because it has been fantastic from a pitcher's perspective. His average exit velocity has gone from 87.8 miles per hour last year, which was already pretty good, to 81.9 miles per hour this year. Heading into Sunday, out of 140 pitchers with 300 plus pitches thrown, his average exit velocity was the lowest by 1.7 miles per hour, which is a very, very large difference when you look at exit velocity, because those differences, numerically are kind of minuscule, but they mean a lot more in the long term. Also, his ground ball rate has gone from 49% to 62%. His line drive rate has gone from 26% to 17%. Fly ball rate has gone from 21% to 14%. And sweet spot rate has gone from 35% to 27%. Everything is going in the right direction, quality of contact wise. And heading into Sunday, out of 152 pitchers with 50 plus batted balls against, his ground ball rate against was third highest. Line drive rate was 13th lowest. Fly ball rate was fourth lowest, and sweet spot rate against was 13th lowest. And part of that can be credited to improvements on his sinker, as his sinker actually has 2.7 more inches of average vertical drop than last year. So it does make sense why his ground ball rate has gone up 13 percentage points this year, and maybe why he'll probably have overall better ground ball rates than he did last year throughout the season if his sinker is moving that much. So yeah, really, really good stuff from Ranger Suarez. I was kind of wary about his first 4 starts because 3 of them came against pretty below average offenses, but he excelled against the Reds, he excelled against the Padres, and yeah, that's why he's getting a.
How about that?
I love seeing you put pitch movement in your how about that.
Yeah, it's a current trademark, but I'm borrowing it for
No.
the
It
moment.
is yours whenever you want it.
Um, but yeah, I do anytime I see a difference, I do wanna make sure to highlight it. But yeah, so that's it for mine. But Daniel has a bonus. How about that? And
I do.
Daniel told me before the show, very excited about this one. So I'm excited to hear about it.
Yeah, so I'm going with a minor leaguer. for my second how about that. I think it's the second time in ARR history that we've done so. Very coincidentally, the first one you did was Will Benson, correct? When he was in the Cleveland organization. My guy also comes from the Cleveland Guardians organization. And it is if this guy isn't your favorite minor leaguer in like 2.5 minutes, you gotta just listen to this back until he is. And admittedly, this is coming from a bit of a biased perspective, and you'll understand why later. But for my second, how about that? I am going with Matt Wilkinson of the Cleveland Guardians organization. However, we're not calling him Matt Wilkinson. We are calling him by his true name, his nickname, which is Tugboat. So I will be referring to him as Tugboat through the rest of this segment because that is his nickname. So Tugboat was drafted in the 10th round of the 2023 draft out of Central Arizona University. He is a left-handed pitcher that is listed at 6'1", 270 pounds. You can already picture what he looks like on the mound, but what you need to remember is in 20 2/3 innings pitched this year in A-ball, he has struck out 41 batters, again, 20.2 innings, 41 strikeouts, 6 walks, 1 earned run. So his ERA is 0.44, his FIP is 0.47 or 0.77, and his xFIP is 1.30. Tugboat also has a 56.2% strikeout rate, an 8.2% walk rate, and a 47.9% strikeout minus walk rate. Among the 25 batted balls that he's given up, according to my calculations, 60% of them have gone to the opposite field. And he's given up a lot of fly balls, which is good because when you hit a fly ball to the opposite field, hitting it to the opposite field in most cases is going to take away a lot of power because a lot of guys, especially in the minors, especially in A-ball, have a lot of trouble hitting it out the opposite way because understandably it's very hard to do. Among the 110 minor league pitchers with at least 20 innings pitched this year, Tugboat ranks tied for second in ERA. He ranks first in FIP by 0.70. He ranks first in xFIP by 0.61, first in strikeout rate by 12%, first in K rate minus walk rate by 8.9%, and first in opposite field rate by 12.5%. So overwhelmingly, Tugboat has been the best pitcher in all of minor league baseball so far this year, minimum 20 innings pitched. So I said this is coming from a bit of a biased perspective. That is because Tugboat played in the Cape Cod Baseball League last summer when I was interning there. He played for the Chatham Anglers very briefly, but I have a fantastic Tugboat story that I will never forget. So it was, I believe, the 5th day of the regular season in the Cape League, first week of the season. You know, the novelty of the new season is there. All the interns were loving life. I was addicted to this job at the time, and I still was throughout the entire summer. But I went to Chatham, and I went there with one specific purpose, and that was to watch the Chatham Anglers starting pitcher that day. It was not Tugboat. It was a guy named Brody Brecht. And if you have followed MLB draft coverage at all this year, you know that Brody Brecht is very likely going to get taken in the first round of this year's draft. He is a guy who hit 104 on the radar during his sophomore year at Iowa. And I was very excited to watch Brody Brecht pitch. And as it was, he did very well. He pitched 4 shutout innings, struck a lot of guys out, got into some base traffic, but was able to get out of it clean. And after he departed after 4, the real show began because Tugboat came in relief and faced exactly 15 batters and put up a line of 5 innings pitched, no hits, no runs, no walks, 8 strikeouts. It was 5 perfect innings with 8 strikeouts. Of the 7 batted balls against him, only 1 left the infield. So it was a ridiculously good outing from him in relief. The Chatham Anglers ended up winning that game 2-0. It was one of just 2 games that Tugboat pitched in during his time on the Cape, but I was watching the live draft feed when he got drafted by the Guardians, and I thought, oh God, they put Tugboat in the Cleveland pitching lab. The world's got to watch out. And this is what we're seeing now. So Tugboat is going to be hopefully in the big leagues one day, and I really hope that it's a name that strikes fear into hitters everywhere in a couple of years.
Yeah, Tugboat.
How about that?
And yeah, when you said that, when you went over his stat line, I was like, oh, look, Cleveland pitching lab, but it seems like he already kind of had it before then, and it's just amplifying now. So yeah, that'll do it for this edition of Players to Highlight. You know, it's the second time it's happened, but a very fun minor league. How about that? I think we're going to be able to do a little bit
More
more of
because
that because of the minor league
specifically with
Statcast.
AAA, yeah.
Yeah, the minor league Statcast search. So yeah, that'll be fun as time goes on, and maybe it's a little bit harder to find people if there are instances where that happens.
Yeah.
But yeah,
One quick note, Jeff Passan reported tonight, there are things being done to address the uniform crisis that was going on this year. I guess there's a memo sent out to players by the MLBPA. It sounds like they were calling out Nike in particular. I know Fanatics has gotten a lot of the heat for the uniform problems this year, but it really sounds like Nike was getting a lot of the heat for this. The quote that Passon put in his tweet was Nike was innovating something that didn't need to be innovated. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's good that it's finally happening. My tweet on this was bullying works because I mean, yeah, another thing that every baseball fan agrees on, uniforms bad this year. Bad, the small lettering, the sweat stains, like all of it bad. The see-through pants.
yeah, for sure. I just remember like all the tweets that I saw of like comparing the um comparing the 2023 uniforms to the 2024, and you'd think it would be in reverse order, like the that the this year's ones would come first, and then all of a sudden, oh wow, we have these this really nice lettering. It seems like perfect size, and we can see it clearly now. But no, it was reverse order. They made it
I
small.
need to know if like anyone at Nike or Fanatics, when they developed these jerseys, thought they would just get away with it.
Um, yeah, like it is weird because that's not a decision made by one person. There's multiple
No,
people, likely.
there's also like not only has the uniforms been bad, but like there are teams that never received their City Connect uniforms and haven't been able to wear them. That's been a big issue. The other thing, MLB announced this week that Players Weekend is coming back, but they're not doing jerseys. And there was a tweet being like, "Yeah, why would they do jerseys? You really trust Fanatics with Players Weekend jerseys?"
Right.
Like what happens? What happened? Yeah, I think that the actual tweet that I saw was, you really think they would go through an entire line of player nickname jerseys and not accidentally put a slur on someone's jersey
Yeah.
by complete mistake?
Yeah, that would be the least surprising thing in the world. But yeah, it's weird. It's weird that there was probably at one point a boardroom full of people, and the majority were like, "Yeah, that's fine. That's definitely not going to be an issue." Uh,
Mhm.
definitely
Yeah, they
should.
won't notice after like 2 days, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, we. It was bad enough to where we actually cared about the uniforms,
Hmm.
and not just like the regular design of it, but lettering and sweat stains and weird stuff. Like, yeah, it's interesting, and hopefully that gets done by like June before it actually gets really
Yeah.
warm
Well,
out.
in the past article, it said it will be done at the latest by the start of the 2025 season.
Okay,
So who knows?
yeah, we'll enjoy them while they're around, but
Yeah.
yeah, maybe they'll serve some sort of value. When it will be funny, like even just in 2026, 2027, when we see an old highlight and we see the letters on the back, and it's like, oh right, yeah, I remember that. That was
Yeah.
crazy. What a
It's
weird
gonna be
time.
fun when you see it. It's like anytime you see a 2020 highlight, you're like, man, I can't believe we actually like did a full season with no fan, or not a full season, but like I can't believe we did a season with full fans. Eventually, you're gonna start seeing 2024 highlights, being like, I can't believe they like approved those jerseys. That's so crazy, and the players just like actually wore them.
Yeah, and it's somehow worse than the pandemic. It feels more scary and
The
morbid.
funny thing, I don't know if you also felt this, but like in 2020, anytime I would go back and watch pre-pandemic highlights, I'd be like, man, it's so weird to see people there.
That is true.
Like what are they doing? They're gonna get sick.
Yeah.
Watching a
Even
game from May of 2019, being like, oh my God, they're not socially distanced at all.
even when they did those Fox games where they had the fake crowds,
Oh my God, that
those,
was so bad, dude.
those CGI ones, I was like, man, they're really packed in together. That's so weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, no, and then yeah, and then it flipped over. Thank God. But I mean, let me reinvite.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like you know, I remember when yeah, we were the first full capacity game back that we went to together. It was in June of 2021, but it was crazy how quickly it all came back because I remember like it was June, it was the last week of June 2021, and I'm an introvert. I'm not someone who's like crazy into crowds, but I remember being surrounded by everybody on Lansdowne Street or wherever like that Tasty Burger is, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I feel like I just went into a time
Yeah.
machine. Look at all
It
these
was
people.
also it was also 95 degrees that day.
That did
It
stink. It
was so hot that day.
was the hottest day of the year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Horrible day to get in a car crash, but
Yeah, that's right.
still made it.
Of all the Chris Gianta texts I've ever received, none of them will ever top, "Hey man, I'm probably gonna be late. I got into a car crash."
Granted, everyone was okay. I rear-ended somebody at like 20 miles per hour, but it still was a car accident, and I did not drive the car for much after that. But yeah, made it to the game on
No,
time.
you drive like 2 hours to Maine the next day?
Yeah, I drove that car for like 3 more weeks after that until we took it to a repair shop, and they were like, "You should not be driving this." And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I was like, "Okay, all
Oh,
right."
fine. I thought this was America.
Yeah, yeah, taking me out in handcuffs. Yeah, no, it was but yeah, I remember like because I'd been at Fenway 2.5 months earlier when it was 12% capacity, and it still felt
Right.
like sort of end of days, like everyone had to wear masks, everyone had to be separated. But and then 2.5 months later, it was just like it felt like utopia. It was like,
Yeah, I went to not the same thing, but I went to a minor league game in April of 2021. Or no, it was May of
yeah,
2021 when yeah, there was still limited capacity and they had like police tape on like half the seats in the stadium.
right, right,
Like what
yeah.
a weird experience that was.
I think most stadiums, at least, in the in the blue states or the northeast states, like
Yeah.
it was like that. And yeah, like reflecting on like summer of 2021, that was like one of the most like relieving times ever. Like opening things back up, that was like amazing. But you can't replicate that feeling because in order to do that, you'd have to shut everything
No.
down again.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I mean
Um,
that was one of my favorite summers ever. Yeah, I went to Fenway with you guys. That was a super fun time. Went to Philly for the first time. Um Yeah, no, that was sweet. That was
yeah.
so cool watching it all come back.
Yeah.
Also, like you mentioned, the Northeast states shutting down. It just reminds me again of who led the American League in attendance that year.
Yes. Yeah. Shout, shout out to the 60 and 102.
Yeah, like what some some like much younger version of us in the year 2045 is gonna be scrolling Baseball Reference and finding out that the 101 lost 2021 Rangers led the American League in attendance and be like, how did that happen? And it's like, well, actually, they were the only team that said 100% capacity on
Yeah.
opening day,
Yeah, we
and
got a
they were
new
also
ballpark.
opening a new ballpark. Yeah,
We just spent loads of money on this. We cannot last another day without full capacity.
yeah,
And yeah, it was full the opening day, and then people realized it was the Seager, Simeon, uh, everybody else,
the Nick
Rangers.
Solak teams.
Yes, yes, indeed. I mean, Mike Fulton Nevich started that game, so
Yeah, he
tells you everything you need to know.
That was the
Um,
year. That was the year that he like was the Chad innings eater of the league.
most likely, it
Like
does seem to
people
fit that.
forget, Mike Foltynewicz just had the hardest downfall between 2019 and 20. Actually, it was between game 2 of that series and game 5 of that series. That's when it started.
Right, yeah. Yeah, in game two, I think he outdueled Jack Flaherty, who was the,
Starting
second half
pitcher.
Cy Young.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
What a
no,
random year. Yeah.
he had a 2.85 ERA in 2018. He started the first Braves playoff game of this window, I'm pretty sure. Right?
Um,
Like was he the game one starter against the Dodgers that year?
Uh, in 2019,
18.
18, probably he was the best pitcher on that team. They had the
Yeah,
best
like
season.
the Braves have, they've won what 6 straight divisions going on 7. The first playoff game starter was Mike Foltynewicz.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I remember like because he was kind of young at the time. He was like 26 or 27, and I
26.
was like, this
Yep.
guy's like the future of this staff. And yeah, Max Fried was like in the bullpen. He was, he never started in the playoffs at that time. Now
Max
he's
Fried was like kind of okay in 2019 with his 4.02 ERA and better FIP.
yeah, it's like, oh, this is, maybe he'll get some innings in the regular season, but he
Yeah,
won't be
now now
valuable.
it's now it's number one pitcher in baseball,
Yeah,
according to
well,
many people are saying on this podcast.
many people are saying it's a 50% approval rating, um,
Yeah.
which is hard to get. But yeah, I mean, he had a great complete game against one of the worst offenses in baseball. But we'll see if things regress to the mean. He's had what two good starts in a row.
No, he's had one good start in a row.
Okay, yeah, against one of the worst
He
offenses.
had he had 2 good starts, but then one bad one in between, I believe.
I will say when I mentioned Ranger Suarez's average exit velocity against, he was uh he was ahead of Max Fried for that second spot. So
Yeah, no,
average
Max
exit
Fried,
velocity is still low.
yeah, two two good starts, 3 bad starts. So he's got to even it out his next time out.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah. Anything more for the rest of the episode here?
No, I think that's kind of all she wrote for episode 306.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
The MLB Network episode for my cable box back home.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I always with the HD channels, it goes into the 1000s for us. So
Okay, for me it's 306. So we got a while to go for you.
1219.
Oh yeah,
So
we got years to go.
we got to multiply this by 4. So, you know, 20 20 like 41, 2042.
Wow, that goes beyond Bobby Bonilla's contract.
Wow. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Um, yeah, last week.
It's very sad that we are like at the end of the time where a guy will sign like a massive contract and we can't say like by the end of this contract the Mets will still be paying Bobby Bonilla. Like we can't do that anymore because we're only 11 years away now.
Yeah, that
Like
is a
when
tragedy.
like Bryce Harper signed his 13-year deal and like one of the first things said was at the end of Bryce Harper's contract the Mets will still have like 4 more years to pay Bobby Bonilla on July 1st. Because it's 2035, I believe.
Yeah, so I think Bobby Witt Jr.'s contract goes beyond that.
Yeah, it's you can't. That sucks.
Yeah, that is pretty terrible.
Yeah, and now it just doesn't hit the same because if a guy's like Shohei Ohtani just signed a 10-year deal and it doesn't hit the same, especially because the Dodgers aren't going to stop paying him in 10 years.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
That's when they're gonna start paying him.
Yeah. Yeah, last episode, by the way, shout out to Miami for the 305 area code. Not that either of us have any Miami connections, but I know it's
Nope,
popular.
I've never been to Miami. I don't know anyone who's from there.
We
I
didn't
don't know
even
if I.
talk about the Marlins.
No, we didn't,
No.
which is probably a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, that's a service to the 305.
Yeah. Yeah. The
In honor of this episode, we will not talk about your 4-19 baseball team.
Yeah. And with respect to Miami, I did not mention Tanner Scott having over a 20% walk rate and
Yeah,
screwing up with my team. My 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 reigning, my shot at a repeat or
yeah,
close to it. But
yeah.
yeah, so we respected that and chose not to talk about the Marlins last week, even though it was 305. But yeah, that does it for this installment of Above Replacement Radio. We hope you enjoyed this one. if you are listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, want to watch the conversation as it happens, go to the YouTube channel. It is called Above Replacement Radio. Check out all the playlists, like our baseball history series, or our guest interviews featuring interviews from Sarah Langs, Chris Rose, Foolish Bailey, Jeff Passan, among many others. Mike Petriello as well. Go check all those out. And also follow us on social media. Follow me on Twitter at Chris_Gianta. Follow Daniel on both Twitter and Instagram at Daniel_Curran. And follow the show Instagram at Above Replacement Radio for all the show needs. Yeah, make sure to check. Yeah, by the way, check out the Sarah Langs interview. It's her birthday this week. So
it is her birthday, May 2nd, I believe.
Yeah, give her, listen to that interview. We get into a little bit of her personal life as well, along with the, whatever the topics of August of 2022 were. But yeah.
You want to reflect on that trade deadline when Juan Soto got traded, among others?
Yes, indeed. So yeah, that does it for this installment of Above Replacement Radio. We hope you enjoyed this one, and we hope to see you next week, where we will be talking all the happenings in Major League Baseball once again. We will see you then.
This conversation is over.